So I'm going to be getting a new figure in a few days. It's something I've been waiting for going on 4 years. I had completely given up on it. It is the Great General of Darkness from M3 Studios. And this will be my largest figure ever at over 25 inches. That's even larger than a Shogun Warrior. I believe it's all plastic or vinyl or whatever, but I'm super excited because it's been a long time coming. So who is the Great General of Darkness? This right here is the Great General of Darkness. This is a remake of a 1974 film, which was Mazinger Z versus Great General of Darkness. And so you can see in here, he's facing off against Mazen Kaiser. So I'm going to do a quick recap of the story behind this from the anime. And at the beginning of Mazinger Z, Dr. Hell, actually, I don't even think this is shown except in flashbacks. Dr. Hell and a group of scientists are on Bardos Island, and they discover what's left of the Mycene Empire, which is a whole pile of 20-meter tall robot beasts. And Dr. Hell decides he can use these beasts to take over the world, and kills every scientist except one. Juzo Kabuto manages to escape, builds Mazinger Z, which is right here. This is Great Mazinger, in order to defend the world against Dr. Hell and his beasts. And Juzo Kabuto is later killed before the beginning of the series with a bomb from Dr. Hell. So it's Mazinger Z and the various other people involved, including the Photon Power Laboratory and Sayaka and Boss, all fighting against Dr. Hell. And he has his own group, which includes Baron Ashura, which originally was just two, a man and a woman he found. Each one had half of their body destroyed, and they were entombed, and he managed to fuse them together. Later, it's kind of retconned into they were from the Mycene Empire. Later in the series, pretty far into the first season, we are introduced to Archduke Gorgon, who, the one thing is that a lot of this stuff was taken, most of this stuff was taken from the manga, but the series didn't really get into the details of the manga. And so Archduke Gorgon, they just kind of find him. I mean, they seem to know, and then in a flashback, it's shown that Dr. Hell and Archduke Gorgon had created a partnership, and now they were calling on him to help because he had his own beasts. And so I read that either I guess must have been in the manga, that the Mycene Empire had actually sent Archduke Gorgon in order to observe what was going on between Dr. Hell and Mazinger Z. But he definitely gets involved in the conflict, and he's trying to destroy Mazinger Z. And at the very end of the first season, Dr. Hell is killed. They're all killed except for Archduke Gorgon, who is now the bridge to season 2. And in the final episode, we are introduced to the Great General of Darkness, also known as Ankoku Daishogun. And he is not the leader of the Mycene Empire, but he is second in command. Hence his name, the Great General of Darkness. There are 7 other generals. There's also Minister Argos, who seems to be about on par with Great General of Darkness. And then we have the Great Emperor of Darkness, and he is the leader of the Mycene Empire. And so in the final episode, the Great General of Darkness sends several of his own beasts out to destroy the Photon Power Laboratory, and Mazinger Z is just beaten into submission, and that's when Great Mazinger, who is here, comes along and saves the day. And then we enter season 2, where they're fighting against the Mycene Empire itself. So the generals are shown to be every bit as large as Great Mazinger. So I think they're about 25 meters. And very far into the second season, the Great General of Darkness, the Great Emperor of Darkness is getting frustrated. He finally tells the Great General of Darkness, either finish off Great Mazinger or die trying. And so the Great General of Darkness faces off one-on-one against him. And he is strong enough to go toe-to-toe with Great Mazinger, but he does die. So he dies well before the end. He is then replaced by the Great General of Hell, who is Dr. Hell brought back to life. Now, I had thought that the Great Emperor of Darkness had somehow turned him into, a 25-meter beast, but I was wrong. It wasn't until I watched the season that I discovered, no, he's normal. He's still his normal size, although he has a patch over his eye, and he's controlling it, much as Koji Kabuto or any of the other humans. Also, Archduke Gorgon is just kind of like a large human, except he's fused with a saber-toothed tiger. And then we have Marquise Janus, who arrives after Archduke Gorgon is killed, and she is also normal human size and operates a giant robot that is the size of the various generals. So the Great General of Darkness, I would say, is probably, even though he's not the leader of the Mycene Empire, I would say he is the most recognizable character from that series, and certainly he seems to stand alone in that we have 2 movies where the Great General of Darkness is the main antagonist in that. And I also think it's a pretty neat design, and I'm definitely going to show the figure when I get it. But one thing to note about this is that this right here is not his actual head. His head, you can't see it. It's kind of in here, but it's like an old man's head. And this was the way it was with these generals, which was they had kind of this head-looking thing on top, but their actual head was either on their chest, or in the case of Minister Argos, it was actually on the end of his cane. So it's a little bit weird. And a lot of the beasts from the Mycene Empire would have these heads on their body that were separate from the main head. So that's who the Great General of Darkness is. I also have pre-ordered the Great General of Darkness from Bandai, which unfortunately appears to be out of scale with their Solo Chogokin figures. So that's a little disappointing. It's apparently over 8 inches. I believe that this figure is more like 6.5 to 7 inches, which would make him considerably larger, and I don't think he's that much larger in the anime. I think maybe they're about the same size or slightly larger. So that's who the Great General of Darkness is. Great figure, great design. Well, I don't know if the figure's great, but great design, and really looking forward to it after almost 4 years.